In this video, we're going to go over this really nice Murray. It's like a 27-inch Tecumseh powered. What is it, 8 or 10? I forget. They're all basically the same, but that's not the point of this video. We'll deal with the motor on a separate cover, so check out one of that video. I got a couple of videos on that, but there'll be a video associated with this. We'll go over the carburetor. We'll get the motor running good. But that's a separate video. In this video, right, we want to cover the drivetrain, the power, essentially the powertrain. The working end of it, right? Well, she's been sitting, and it was bought used, and it's been neglected, and currently it doesn't run. So a customer brought it over, dropped it off. We're going to go over lubrication and cleaning, get everything situated, especially in the transmission underneath when you tilt it up on its face. There's that gear disc assembly. It needs to be cleaned, needs to be lubricated. We want to go through that. We want to go through the axles. We want to go, from the tires to the chains, all that, put it down. I want to show you what I like to do just for service up in the auger area, okay, around the belts, all that kind of stuff, that lubrication, cleaning, and any adjustments. Get you in there, and we'll stay focused on that because that's really all the business end. It's got to move forward, and it's got to move forward and be controlled well. You want it in good shape. You don't want it slipping. You don't want issues cropping up in there. And this maintenance part of it, the lubrication, if you can get it good and where it's all correct, and everything is going good, your shear pins are nice and clean, your gearbox is now fully lubricated, nothing's really broken, then this is also going to help you to maintain it. So you can come back in the future and check on it again, right? And give it a little bit of lubrication and give it its inspection, because the inspection is part of the whole thing. Every machine I get in has to be cleaned and inspected. The whole thing. Otherwise, I don't do the job. I don't fix one little thing and ignore the horrors somewhere else. I just don't do that. So all my machines wind up the same way, or that's just not a customer. And for you guys, you get the benefit of that. So let's get started on this. We'll go through it. And one of the other videos will focus on the carburetor and the engine and ignition system and what I do to the actual engines to make sure that they're all gone over. Because keep in mind, a lot of these are very fine machines. They're about 20 years old, around that neighborhood. If you can find one in good shape, it's going to need some work. And generally, I've never, nobody does any service. And God help you if they did, because if you pick one up used and somebody has been servicing it, they probably broke something, like the green one that I got. Let's get started. Now, we're not going to clean the disc yet, fellas, because there's no point, right? Make sure the light is all the way up. And I'm going to bring you back in for a more close-up shot, but just to get started, we want to hit a few spots. So the obvious stuff, obviously, is, we want to get some of this on there. This is chain wax, just a little bit. Right, because it's in good shape. This is a maintenance deal, what we're working with here. So we want to get that. Now, back up in here is a bearing for it. It's like an idler bearing. And you want to get in there as much as you can. And I'll point that out to you. Then the same thing on this side. Now, I also have some chain lube. But in here, we want something that's not going to splatter as much. Yeah, she's a little dry. Plus, I washed it. There we go. And there's a bearing back in there. Now, most of these bearings and bushings, some of them are actually oil-lite. Now, we want to get all along this path here. I want to fill that up. Any dry area. Get it wet. Remember, this stuff will kind of dry. And it looks like it might even be a little dirty. Now let's see if we can move that. I want to see if I can move that back and forth. And that's should be this lever. Let's get up here and get these bushings. And this guy too. We'll do the handle later. Let me see if I can move it. Oh, it moves nice, fellas. Now I'm going to move it to one side. That looks real good. And there's also a bearing here. I'm going to point all those out to you. Just want to get this done. We got another bearing over here. Now we want to get in the corners here and the springs. I like this because it waxes up. There we go. That looks good. Here, up in there. All right, that's a pivot point. It's like a roller. That looks good there. That's for your, if you want to adjust the cable, if it's stretching. And you can even put some on a shaft like this too. You can see the shaft is a little rotted. All right, that'll protect anything like that, because it creates a. There's some back there. I want to get over here. And then there's a bearing up in there. That's your main bearing. Any slider. So like I said, I'll go get a screwdriver and I'll get in tight with a camera so you can see. That moves. Yeah, we're doing good. Oh, like butter. Now you can leave this on until it dries, right? Until everything dries. That way you don't have as much grease to deal with. Get this here is a washer, like a pivot. It allows it to kind of move back and forth. Any friction surface, anything you can see. All right, I'll get the other camera in a minute. Now there's a couple more spots we're going to take the tires off. I wanted to leave the tires on. It makes it easier for me to spin this until we're done in here. Yeah, she's in good shape. Well, it's nice working on nice stuff, old stuff that's been kept good. Bought it used for a couple $100. All right, I'll be right back. I wanted to mention, this is an oil light bushing up here. All right, it goes into the steel of the case. Same thing here. All right, so they have oil impregnated in them, but that's okay. Now those pillow blocks are back here. You can only get them from in here. Okay. It might be, and there's one over here. Let that focus. Let's see. Now we got up here and there, right? Those are bushings. Of course, we got all in there. So this piece here, and the same thing down there. So that's actually drying up. Notice it's not dripping on this yet, or hasn't. We got the springs. This spring could use a little bit more. We'll spray that, just to keep the springs nice. I got this guy here that just goes right through the case. There's really nothing there, so you want to make sure you get those. A little chain wax, and just kind of give it some support for a little while. And then back in here, which we'll get from the other side, but all the way back in here, we'll get this from the outside when we put the thing down. We'll get those. And then this piece here, well, if we can see it here, right, that's a spot. Try to get some on that, but we can get that from up top or to the side. Maybe I'll just do it now because it's real close. Same thing all the way in here. We'll see here, or if you travel all the way in there. This we can get all the way in there. See it where the screwdriver is? That I already got, but we can also get it from up top. The sides here too. Yeah, that we can get from the side of the, when the tires are off. I think that's it. Yeah, let me just hit this spring and that one spot back there that I mentioned. And that's we're done in here. Then we can clean this. So we want to get, this is a really nice disc. All right, so I moved this over. And you could just get a better look. All right, there's a bearing there, a bearing surface there. You could just get a better look in there. See down here, that's what I was telling you about. Okay. And here, I sprayed it good and moved it around. Okay. Yeah, just so that you can see, and you can see how this moves here. So you want that lubed up. It's beginning to dry. And then you see down here, right, that moves on the case. It scrubs on the case. Right? Because it's on this spring over there. So we want to get that and this spring here too. So we want to get that spring. And then this way it'll dry, right? It'll wax up. It's chain wax. It takes about 15, 20 minutes. Depends on how cold it is in your shop or what temperature it is. It's gonna be a little glary in here, but that's okay. Brake clean, but I don't have much. So, and green Scotch Brite. That's what we're gonna use with the brake clean. But for now, we're gonna start off with some it's just basic solvent. And just some crap Scotch Brite. Just to try to loosen it up a little bit. Yeah, she's loosening up. I'll probably put a little bit of gum out on it too, because I have more gum out. Yeah, let's try. But brake cleaner works the best. I have some on order. It should have came today, but it didn't. So I'm just going to spend some time in here. How do I usually turn that with the motor? Yeah, I can turn it with the motor because the spark plug is out. So I'll just rotate the motor over a little bit. That's why I tend not to put the whole motor together, because I can actually reach up here and turn the flywheel, but we can do this. There we go. Ready? And that'll allow me to get to it a little bit better. It's already taken it off. Let me go crack a window. And we'll finish up. I'll wipe it down. That's looking better, fellas. All right, now we can get some brake clean on there. We'll finish it up. I find it brake clean works really, really good. Yeah, that's pretty clean. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but I think this leaves a good surface. Let's give it a rotate. Put a little bit on. Turns out I don't even need that much. But there a lot of junk came off. I mean, I really pulled off a lot with that other Scotch Brite pad. Make sure, right, there isn't any weird movement. There shouldn't be any like side to side or anything sloppy. Lift up on the wheels and the axles, and you know, get your flashlight out, get in there, get your face in there good. And this is your opportunity. I don't see anything weird. She's in beautiful shape. That's looking real good. Belt looks great. All the belts look good. So we're just on a maintenance run here. All right, one last thing. A little bit of brake cleaner on your white towel. And just to pull off any junk, see? Just a quick one. Don't get crazy with it. Just gets off the oxidized stuff. It's in beautiful shape. There we go. Okay. That's clean. That looks great. That's going to work well. A little wobbly. That's the actual disc itself. They're all replaceable. Everything is still available. Yeah, a little overexposed, but you get the idea. It's clean. We can inject grease here and here. But I don't like the looks of these bolts. So we want to get those out, and we're going to open this up and take a peek in there and see what's going on. So let me go do that. I want to take at least one of these bolts out. This one here is like, it's like impaled in into this unit. So let me get you in close and you'll see what I'm talking about. And you see that? Yeah. Something don't smell right with that, fellas. And I'll take a look at this one. So let me pull these out and see what we got. All right, I'm actually having a hard time getting this out, fellas. You don't want anything like that because it'll break in there. You won't be able to get it out in a hurry, so you can keep going. It's bent because it's just not correct. All right, let me keep working that. The gear is wearing. So this is, see, it's still okay, but we're going to want to check that. So when we get this thing running, we're going to lubricate everything, but when we get it running, I can see it here on the end. That's got me a little concerned. So she's starting to wear, it's picking up some brass of the gear set. What we want to do is put some oil in here, relatively heavyweight oil. I might be able to take a peek in there, hold on. The teeth don't look terrible. It's moving, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It's got a little bit of a slop in it. So what we want to do is get some oil in here. I got to put some more oil in this, but try to fill it up a little bit until it starts to come back out. Squirt it in there. Yeah, there you go. See? What it'll do is it'll mix with the grease that's in there, and because the grease gets, I did this on one of my other videos, which I'll try to put a link in it. You take it apart, and when there's white grease or grease of some kind in there, what'll happen is it'll, as it spins, it'll throw it to the outside, away from the gear. It'll throw it to the inside the case, whatever the outside area is inside the case. There'd be some, constriction. It'll wrap it up and throw it and cast it off of the gear. And since it's greased, there's no way to re-wick that grease down. So what we want to do is to try to save it. I got to put more oil in this. Let me fill that back up. 2040, something like that, 2050 would be good. So I think we're done there. We're good everywhere else. Everything else looks good. Let me put a little bit more high weight oil in here. I'll put a little bit more in that, and then we're going to put a little bit in the ends too. All right, and then we'll hit that up with chain wax too, because this is a bearing in here, and we'll go over here on the other side, and then let it drip a little bit, and then hit it with chain wax, and we should be good to go. All right, fellas, we got everything cleaned up in here, except for we got a nipple there, and we'll have to turn it over. All right, so you can try turning it over by hand, or you can spin it over with an electric starter motor, or I got the plug out, so I'm just pulling the handle, and I'm pressing in on the belt to spin this over, because otherwise it's very hard to get to. Let's use our Saker, our Smart Saker lock. That's www.smartsaker. And let's lock that on there and give it a few pumps. Let's see if we can even get it to lock on. Yep, there it is. Because it's kind of a beat up nipple. Yeah, that nipple's probably plugged. There we go. See it coming out over here? That's good. About 4 or 5 should do it. All right, let me turn it over. We'll get to the other side. And also, he spotted me a new plug. I know the lights are very bright, so we're going to pop the plug in. We'll get some fuel in it, and we'll give it a test run, and then we can bring it. We'll have to do it in here because it's snowing. It's nasty out. All right, fellas, this is what was in there. You see how bent it is? Yeah. And that's just from where. I had to drive it out with a hammer and a drift. We're going to put one of these in, or you can use one of those. Okay. You see, this side's a little bit more rusty, so we're just going to kind of clean this off real quick. Lube them up, grease them up. This is the side with the bolt, and this is the side with the clip. We'll lube this up too. Put that on there so that you can spin it and it won't seize up. So let me work on that. Also, I got to find the bolts for this and fit this on right. That's not fitting right, so let me get that fit right, and we can move forward. I just want to check the air pressure in the tires, clean the backside of them. This is on. A little bit of Loctite on these guys, fellas, because it just goes into the tin. Now, a couple of last lube points. Again, this is oilite, but I put a little chain wax here. And this is one of these, this just rides in this shaft here, and you'll see it from the top as well. It just rides in the steel. There's no bushing there. So a little chain wax there, or oil, but chain wax will last longer. Over here, and over here is the other side of the one that I was showing you. So it's lubricated underneath this plastic bushing, and I'm going to put some lubricant on top because you don't want the rim to get worse. Now when I went to take this one off, I don't remember if I showed it, but it was a little gacked up around the holes. Remember, you have your 2 holes here, so you can decide whether you want to free spin it or whether you want to lock it up so that you get posi. This one is just the bolt. It doesn't have the 2 holes, so you can't freewheel it. This is always on, always driving. So you also want to check that too. So the file or my little buzz wheel did that. I think we're done underneath here. And by the way, if you don't want to paint surfaces like that, chain wax, fellas. If you don't want to paint it, put a little chain wax on it. I might just clean that off real quick, and because this one's in nice shape, and put a little rusty metal primer on it. We could do that later after we test it, because we're still going to be making it, you know, a bit of a mess on it. I think we're good everywhere else. I threw a little chain wax in that just to get to it while I'm here. Again, this is the other side of that other one, in case I missed that. We'll get to it here later. I don't know, we'll see what's here. And as we lower it down, because it's up a little higher right now, but lastly we'll get up there. We'll throw a little chain wax. I already lubed the cables, so that was earlier, but we'll put a little chain wax and stuff in those mechanisms in a bit. We can do that last. Alright, upon closer inspection, see, look, this one has the nylon in it, but it's stuck. If I can get it to move and get it out, then we'll clean up in there and we'll grease it. Alright, it's out. I just kind of cleaned everything up real quick with my tranny sauce. And now it goes in no problem. Alright, just get off the bead end. We'll put that the other direction. I'm going to just kind of lube that up with some grease. Butter it up a little bit and put it back. Shaft's already greased. Right? This is a good thing to do. Make sure, because believe me, I've had some where, fellas, yeah, you'll give up. You won't get the stuff apart. Alright, so I got some underneath there. We already got that cable, but we're going to just do that right there. Yeah, it goes through over here. Over there. Over there. All up in here. And then I'll run it through. All right, now you can see. You can see that? That's what we hit earlier. Right here, because that moves. You can try to get a little bit in those bearings. Don't worry about getting it on anything. Yeah, that's the seal, the oil seal. Okay. And if you can, hit both sides. That bearing down in there, you can, there's a number of things you can hit it with. You can hit it with a little oil too. This turns on that bushing. It moves. And I think that's it. Everything else looks good. Here, come over this side. And we'll inspect it before we put it on. Here's a spring, these 2 springs. I'll try to get them. I'll get the other one back there with the camera out of my hand. I'm going to try to steer it. And, all right, we already got this, but we'll get it from that side just to show you. All right, fellas, I got the doors open. We're just going to do this quick because I got a customer coming anytime, any minute now. Got some fuel in it. The oil is the original oil, but it looks like it's pretty good. We're going to do a quick test. Let it run for a little bit. We're going to use the electric start. I got it on choke. Let's give it some prime. I don't have much fuel in it. We may have to put a little bit more fuel in it. But let's just see what it does. Hopefully it doesn't freak out on us. A few more primes. Everything is good. The only thing I didn't like was first gear, forward gear, it goes backwards. So it's not adjusted right, but I'll take a look at that. That's not important. Let's get up and dump the oil while I'm waiting for this customer. Check this thing out. She's sweet. Sweet. They come out. I love the way some of these things come out. This is how I do them. Just beautiful and reliable, and it'll work fine. And it'll last, too, because they were made well. I mean, this thing's made like, well, almost like Rick House. My 826 is definitely tougher than this, but it doesn't have some of the nice features. Some of them. So come on back for the engine and stuff like I mentioned earlier in the intro. Come back for all of that, and we'll nail that down. I happen to like these motors. They can be a little temperamental, but again, something like this is going to be well into 1,000, a high 1,000, maybe $2,000. I don't know, something like that. Today, everything's getting real expensive, so I find it's worth it going over these old machines if they're in good enough shape. And of course, if you can find somebody like me that works for almost nothing, I'll see you on the next episode. Arch's Garage.